it's sort of intertextuality when rhyming used to be enough, okay? So what's your process in general? And when you work with others, what's the process like?
Okay. My process for writing, it depends. Last night somebody asked me about The Badness, the song I got called The Badness, off the warm-up. Like, yo, how did you, like, what were you thinking about? What was your process for writing it? In reality, I just wrote it. And I think the things that were on my mind at that time, whether it had been that day or that week or that month, just spilled out. And I think that's what happens. I feel like I build up a bank of things of thoughts that I think about and observations and like, oh, that's not right, or like, oh, that's interesting, and then as I'm writing, sometimes they slip in where they fit in. So if you never heard of Badness, I'm not even gonna remember that verse, but it's like it's these cool commentaries about like at night. We had this conversation last night, so I'm just rehashing this conversation. But at night, I was noticing at the time at night in Queens. When I walk. In the daytime, everything's fine. You know what I mean? Like when I walk through Queens or you know, if I see somebody of the opposite race, if I see a white lady in the daytime, it's all good. She's probably looking like, oh, this Nation man, he has a book bag, you know, he's probably going to school. But at nighttime, it's totally different. It's a more like distrustful like walk, you know? So I slipped that into the verse because it was on my mind. Like, yo, at night, I'm not a nice guy anymore. Like, I'm just a scary black dude at night, with, you know, with a hoodie or whatever. And then I noticed last night when I brought this up that I do the same things as a black man. Like, I stereotype the same way. I was telling a story about how I got a homeboy that lives in Brooklyn, and this is a gentrified area of Brooklyn. So this used to be really Brooklyn, and that was like hipsters. It's very, you know, it's very artsy. You got writers. You got dudes that just smoke weed all day. You got, you got designers in this part of Brooklyn. But a block away is the old Brooklyn that was always there. So I parked my car. It's my first time in this neighborhood. I'm by myself. And I park my car, and I get out the car, and I'm just like, mind you, I'm in Brooklyn, I'm Dolo, I'm still J. Cole. Like, you know, this is a couple months ago, so I'm by myself because I don't like move with security on a regular basis. So I'm walking up, you know, I gotta go a couple blocks to the apartment, and I see two shadowy figures coming at me. And then I didn't notice this until after it happened, but like as soon as I saw it was like two white boys, I was like, phew. Yo, I'm good. Yo, these two white dudes just walking around here so comfortably, like I'm straight, you know what I mean? Which just went to tell me that, like, yo, what if it was two black dudes with hoodies on? Me as a black man, I still would, like, the same type of things that affect white people, the same social stereotypes, whatever, affect me too. Because if it's two black dudes now, I gotta size them up a little more. I gotta like really be ready for this, which is wrong. On all accounts, whether you black or white, that's wrong. So I'll take a thought like that, and then a month later, maybe that same night, maybe a week later, maybe a month later, maybe a year later, it'll spill out into a rap. You know, just from an observation that I made from hopping out my car. You know? So that's the process.
So I want to just change the direction a little bit. I guess in about 15 minutes we'll open it up for questions, but what is meant by play the game to change the game?
Right. That's man, that's such a staple line in my life and in my career. It came from the process of the first album when I was getting frustrated with like the label, and you know, some people were suggesting that I get in with this producer. Mind you, I've been producing for myself from 15. I got a lot to prove. I'm very competitive. I got quietly very confident. Like, I know I can do anything. So if y'all looking for a hit, I know I can make that. You know what I mean? Like, all right, I'll make it. I'll find out. I'll figure out how. I'll do it, even if you don't think I can. So at the time, they were trying to stick me in with these producers. I'm not gonna say their names, but I did not want to do this session. Like, it was, you know, it was killing me to even have to do the session. But at the time, I was looking bad. Like, the label was kind of looking around, like, where's the single? I had all this music. We had already had to put out Friday Night Lights because we didn't have a release date, so we sacrificed some of the album music. long story short, I didn't want to do it. And I'm talking to my manager, Mark Pitts, and I'm like, yo, I don't want to get in with these dudes. Like, this is bullshit. Like, I don't want to get in with these guys. Like, why do I have to do that? I don't even, nothing good is going to come from this. I know this. And he's trying to explain to me, like, yo, sometimes you got to play the game to change the game. Like, you have to make it appear, make it seem that you're playing alone. You don't want to be the guy that's like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm the one, because it's going to rub people the wrong way. And that was just on that level. Another level I look at it is I have like these big goals. Like, I got people that come up to me and say, man, you changed the way I look at life. Listening to your music changed the way I look at life. And I was on the path for this, but then when I heard your music, I'm doing this. That's like real substantial change in me. I want to do that a lot and throughout my entire career. But then somebody can come up to me and say, but how you going to do that with workout? You know what I mean? Like, how you going to do that when you can't get enough? They can say that to me, which would be a valid question. You know what I mean? Like, workout doesn't change anybody's life, you know what I mean? It doesn't really do anything for your mind. You know what I mean? But to that, I would say this. If I was only making songs like The Badness, which I talked about earlier, which is off the warm-up, which is super intellectual and like deep thinking and thought-provoking, if I was only doing that, I wouldn't even be in a position, you wouldn't even respect it. Most people wouldn't get to it. I'm not even going to say the rappers' names because I love these guys so much and I don't want to like disrespect them, but we know the guys that are like pigeonholed and can never escape from the conscious box that has been placed on them. You know what I mean? So, I'll give you workout, I'll give you Can't Get Enough, but when you get the album, you're going to get Breakdown, you're going to get Lost Ones, you're going to get this, that, and the third, and you're going to respect them more because you didn't come into it expecting that. You came not really knowing what you're going to get. Tupac gave you I Get Around, How You Want It, you know what I mean? On the same hand gave you Dear Mama, Keep Your Head Up, and I don't feel like those records would have been as effective if he hadn't already established himself as somebody that is just like you, somebody that really goes to the club, really has a thing for women, really has flaws. You know what I mean? So to me, that's play the game to change the game. I wouldn't be able to spark any type of real change if I wasn't, playing the game. To me, that's the problem with politics. Is that politicians they're in a position where they have to create an image of perfection, like they can do no wrong. So then when you realize the truth that these guys are human, there's John Edwards, who I was like, riding with this guy. And then when you hear about what happened, when him and his, whatever was happening with him, you're shocked, like, not John Edwards. Not that guy. That's not what he said he was doing over there. If John Edwards would have came out and said, yo, I'm going to tell you the truth. I got problems. But I know what's best for this country. I know what's best. If he would have been more honest about his human side and not painted himself to be a perfect politician. And I feel like politics is moving towards that way. That's why, like, what's the guy's name? Used to Jesse Ventura. And I saw, like, out of all people, Roseanne on what's the guy's name that does the interview now late night? Piers Morgan. I saw Roseanne on Piers Morgan. It looks like she's making some type of political move. It's like, but to me, and we might laugh because it's Roseanne, it's like, she's going to do politics. To me, those people are the people that are going to win in the future because we already know their flaws. You know what I mean? We can't even judge. We know Roseanne had a crazy life. We already know that. But these other guys in the current political system have to act so perfect. And I feel like that's the problem with politics. I don't know how to get there.
Well, this is so two somewhat big questions. So we were talking this morning about the whole concept that bad music hurts, okay? And what I want you, if you can't talk about, we had the Grammys recently where, where hip-hop, right, is, awards aren't, like, given out during prime time for the most part, right? Yeah. And then there's a question of radio. So how do you sum up what's happening in the state of hip-hop and rap in general at this point?
Okay, I'll touch on the Grammys first, and including in that, I'll say, I'll talk about the Grammys, but I feel like it goes hand in hand with music, the music critic culture. So, I'm not saying these publications' names to like call them out. I'm just saying it as in like a Rolling Stone, they do reviews, and like a New York Times, they do reviews, and anybody that does reviews, and especially to me on the indie scene, and this goes hand in hand with the Grammys, I feel like as a whole, there's not, like, hip-hop is still at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of respect and like real consideration as an art form. And the reason why I feel like that, we start with the Grammys. Even this shit, take this shit. It was Drake win the best rap album of the year, and that wasn't televised, because it wasn't. Why is the best rap album of the year not worthy to be televised? Especially when it's going to somebody like Drake, who's clearly marketable, clearly somebody people are tuning in to see to your program, but yet you feel like he can't get, a rap isn't due that spot. But if Eminem was up, you know what I mean, you would clearly televise that, you know, that award. But that's not it. To me, it's all about the album of the year category, which a rapper has only won twice, if I'm not mistaken. Lauryn Hill and Outkast. Now let's look at before they won those Grammys for album of the year. This is album of the year, mind you. You know what I mean? This is all categories. You know, one album was picked for the album of the year. And so the 2 times that a rap artist won, let's look at Lauryn Hill. That was for Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Before that, she was a part of the Fugees, which, hands down, one of the most classic albums of all time with The Score. So she was already a part of a legendary album. So she had an established history in hip-hop. Let's look at Outkast. Before that, they had, you could argue, definitely 2 classics. You could argue that they had 4. But let's say they had 2 hands-down classics with ATLians, Equipment. You can probably argue for their first album, or you can argue for Stankonia. I'm going to argue for those 2. I'm going to say hands down. They already had 2 classics in the rap world. But we're talking about album of the year. The 2 albums that win album of the year in the history of hip-hop are these hip-hop artist albums that sound nothing like hip-hop. Lauryn Hill's album, she's a hip-hop artist, we call it that, but that album was not a hip-hop album. It was super heavily soul infused and R&B infused. It was moments of rapping, but it was not a rap album. It was just a music album, right? Speaker Box, Love Below. Big Boy's album was rap, but we know really what got that album critical acclaim in that Grammy was the Andre side, which was nothing like rap. You know what I mean? It was jazz. It was like, I don't even know what he was doing right now. But it was totally different from the real rap album they had put out. So to me, that's sending a clear message that, okay, we'll give you, like, the only time you can get, a hip-hop artist can get album of the year is if they're not actually doing hip-hop. Because hip-hop, and itself, you're telling me that hip-hop isn't worthy enough. Just rapping won't cut it. When I don't believe that that's true. You know what I mean? I don't believe that if I put out an incredible rap album with masterful production, masterful rapping and lyricism, masterful concepts, I don't believe that just because I didn't infuse other genres or sing, or that my album is not worthy to be the album of the year. And I feel like that's the message they're sending. So that's how I feel about the Grammys. I feel like I'm trying to change that though. You know what I mean? Like, which leads me to Born Sinner in a sense, because I feel like maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm delusional, but I feel like I got a shot. You know what I mean? Maybe because I'm sitting with this music, so maybe they just crush my dreams anyways, and I didn't like really pay attention. But I feel like I'm gonna make them listen. That's my goal. Once again, this is the same kid that used to sit outside and dribble a basketball. We'll ride by and like bring them straight to the NBA. But I do have a vision and like a goal of doing it. Or I don't know, saying something about it. So that's how I feel about the Grammys. They don't show us no love, like real love. They give us like, we got it, you know. They give us that kind of love.
Can you tell us a little more about Born Sinner and your latest project?
Yes. Born Sinner is my second album. I'm still working on it actually, but I finally have all the songs that I'm going to use. Maybe one right now is getting replaced. So right now it's just about taking it to the next level production-wise and adding on things I need to add. People don't understand I start these songs from scratch. It's not like I just come in the studio, listen to beats, waiting for the inspiration. I got to go handcraft. I could walk into the studio with nothing. I open my laptop, I got to go through each sound, put down the drum pattern, put down some sounds on top of it, sample on top of it, so it's like my process is different. And then when I'm done with the beat, now I gotta write the raps, I gotta come up with the concept. Then when I'm done with that, I gotta add music myself, direct, traffic, guitar, add this, keys, play this. So it's a different process for me, but it's so rewarding. Conceptually, I don't want to give too much of the album away, but I'll explain what it is. Kinda. It's how I feel about One Cent. It can work on so many levels. Let's start with me though, because I usually take the roundabout way, but let's start with me. You're an artist, and it kind of goes back to what we talked about before. You're an artist that came in the game with such pure intention. You know what I mean? Like, there was one point when I really used to sit down and before I write a song, I would say, yo, I want to write a song right now that's going to change somebody's life. You know what I mean? It's going to change the way they live their life. That's going to X, Y, Z with these type of intentions. And these are the songs that got me, or that millions of people gonna love, millions of people gonna sing. And these are the types of intentions that got me Lights Please, or that got me I Get Up, or got me, you know, this was the time of my life I'm in, but I'm also super competitive. So when I got in the game, it's now, those things still remain, but now there's another element that's added. There's a success level that I never thought about before. I never thought about like having hits before that. That never mattered to me. It was all about, yo, I'm gonna come through, I'm gonna drop a classic. I'll worry about the rest later. Like that's all that was on my mind, classic, classic, classic. And then you get in the game, and now there's this new pressure, self-pressure and outside pressure to be successful, because I'm competitive. I don't want to see Drake, all these hits, and I ain't got no hits. You know what I mean? I want to walk in the club, they playing all these Drake and Lil Wayne records and Jay-Z and Kanye records, and I ain't got no records that they can play. That's not, you know, it's the same kid that used to be in the ciphers and used to want to crush people. So now there's a new thing added to my agenda. Now I want some hits. I'm on tour with Jay-Z, he's doing Big Pimpin'. I'm seeing a crowd full of 20,000 people twirling these towels to Big Pimpin'. I'm like, yo, I'm looking at my partner eating, like, yo, I want one of these. Like, I don't want to do like the badness at my shows for the rest of my life, like all sad, like, yo, I want to have some variety. So that adds a new element to my agenda. However, the album is about at what point do you cross that line for good to the point of no return? At what point do you lose yourself and you forget about the balance of where you originally came from? That's artistically. Let's talk about politically. I'm just a guy from Fayetteville, North Carolina. My brother gets killed off a bad drug deal that he didn't even have nothing to do with. He was just around. So I tell myself, it's not a real story, it's hypothetical. So I tell myself, you know what? I want to make sure nobody ever has to lose their brother again, especially not in no drugs. You know, I'm gonna be the mayor this time. I start out with great intentions for the community. This is a positive thing I'm doing, and I have great intentions, so I fight hard and I become the mayor. On my way, I start to see things like the way the system really works and the way politics really works. I started off ignorant. I didn't know nothing about this game. I just came in with intention. So I become the mayor, and I had to fight some bullshit along the way, and I saw how it worked, but I'm the mayor. And now I'm seeing that it's not so easy to bring the change that I thought I could bring. There's a lot more politics I have to play. I gotta shake a hand over here, do a favor over here, just to get something that I want over here. But you know what? My intentions are still there. I still got great intentions. I'm the mayor. I'm gonna do what's best for this town. So I enact some laws that help my original cause. Now what? Well, I still got the city's best interests at heart. You know what? Now I got the state's best interests at heart. I want to be a senator. I'm running for Senate. I'm running for Congress. Now I got new goals. I get to the Congress, and there's an ill show that just came out on House of Cards. I don't know how many people watched that. But to me, it's incredible. It's almost like the nerve of Hollywood. Like, yo, they're really showing you how this stuff works. Like, they're breaking down. I don't know if anybody watches Newsroom too. It's like we're getting to a point where TV is actually showing you the inner workings of politics, how it really works, and news, how it really works. So anyways, I get to Congress, and I see, yo, this is a different game. Now it's really less about my district and more about how do I stay in Congress? How do I get reelected? Sometimes I got to do things that don't even really serve my people the best, but keep me in power. So at what point as a politician does it become less about what you originally started off, you know, your original intentions, and more about the power, you know what I mean? More about your own agenda or your own personal progression. That's politics. Relationships, you know what I mean? At what point, I don't even want to dive into relationships. That's a heavy part of the album. I mean, y'all can imagine being in a long-term relationship and then going through stardom. You know what I mean? That's a whole another side. I'm giving y'all a goods, yo. The album deals with a lot of these different things. And even if it's not spoken on an album, because maybe a song didn't make it, these themes are still represented. Like, to me, the album's also about coming from depression to happiness, or trying to get there. You know what I mean? Coming from hell, you're trying to make it out of hell, and you're trying to make it to heaven. You know what I mean? Escaping from hell, breaking out of hell, whatever you want to look at it. So that's, I gave away too much already. I see the phones out and shit. That's one center, you know.
Don't leak it.
That's one center. Maybe.
What time do we go till? 1:30? Yeah. Just one more quick question in case we don't get to it. You've talked about wanting to do a college tour and going out and talking to students. And I want you to talk, if you could tell us what, where your idea came from and what you're trying to do on the tour.
Okay. I told some people last night where the idea came from. Basically, exactly what we're doing now is how I envisioned it. Just a little bit more performance in between. So my vision was, this when I first got signed, I didn't have the know-how and the power. I'm from North Carolina, man. I'm from Fayetteville. I'm not from New York. My hustle wasn't really up to speed. I'm just really still learning things, as a businessman, I'm more of an artist than like a make it happen type of dude. I'm becoming that. So I've had this idea for years, but I didn't really know how to execute it. I didn't know how to use my resources. Like, yo, let's make this happen. But the idea was to come to a school in an auditorium, maybe 500 kids, 1,000 kids, and perform, do songs, and then stop the performance and discuss the songs. You know what I mean? And open the floor up for questions, answer questions, and then go right back into performing, and then tell a story about that song. And then open the floor for questions and just have dialogue. And where that came from was directly from my experience at college. That was some of my best times in college. I really wish, I'm going back to school, by the way, because I feel like I wasted my college experience. Even though I graduated magna cum laude, I feel like I was really good at just getting good grades. I wasn't really good at soaking up the information, you know what I mean? And now I want to go back to school because now that I'm grown, I want to know these things that I didn't really learn. You know what I mean? Come Harvard. That's where it came from was going to these things in school. Like when I got to college, I'm from Fayetteville, a small town, I get to New York, and all of a sudden we got Nikki Giovanni at school, we got Cornel West coming to the school, Michael Eric Dyson coming to the school, we got a bunch of poets coming to the school to talk in an auditorium setting, and I'm dropping gems. You know what I mean? Those are some of my most cherished memories in college, was going to those events and hearing these people speak and maybe leaving with a couple gems. And I wanted to do the same thing. So that's where this idea came from. And ironically, when I brought it back up, the day after I brought it back up to the team, the label, because now the label was on full, my management, my label, everybody's it's a synergy going right now. So the day after our first meeting, I brought up this point in the meeting. I wanted to do this. And the next day, I got the call about Harvard. So this is funny how it works. So I appreciate y'all for having this, the first step, for that dream that's been there for a few years. Yeah.